Hello, I'm the Nostalgia Critic. I remember it so you don't have to. Disney has certainly gone through its ups and downs in terms of TV, hasn't it? That's to say it wasn't always the onslaught of popular sitcom / rockstar Barbie dolls it is today. Example, Disney once had a 2-hour block of programming called the Disney Afternoon. It started off strong with shows like DuckTales, TaleSpin, and Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers, but after a while the show started to slip in popularity, with less successful programs like Quack Pack, Bonkers, and that show that must never be named. So Disney decided to take an approach they'd never done before, an action series. Something that had no talking animals or cutesy scenarios that Disney was usually associated with. Their answer was a surprisingly well-written series simply known as Gargoyles. Often seen as Disney's answer to the Batman cartoon, Gargoyles was dark, serious, and very complex. The stories were epic and the characters were fleshed out. Well, scaled out. So why was Gargoyles such a kick show? Lots of reasons. And you probably want to know what they are. So, let's stretch out our wings and fly right into Gargoyles. So it starts out in present-day New York as bits of debris are dropped down upon passing bystanders. So they call up Detective Elisa Mazza to investigate, the only cop who for some reason has blue hair. Connection? She's curious as to what could be causing all that horrible destruction.
Claw marks? What could be strong enough to leave claw marks in solid stone?
Sporks?
The lineage of the Sporks goes on for several eons. In fact, we predate the dinosaurs.
Indeed. So we flash back 1,000 years ago to Scotland, where the ancient battle for this castle, I guess, is being fought by whoever the these guys are, because they really want it. I don't know, there's like no detail in this backstory. It's just people with swords doing what people with swords do. Give any guy a sword and he'll want to go pillage something. Attack! They may take our lives, but they'll never take our questionably unclear motivation! But it turns out those stone gargoyles aren't just there for decoration. By daytime, they're stone, but when the sun goes down, they break through the rock and become the defenders of the castle. So they're like stone vampires? No, I didn't mean like that. Never mind. So the leader of the clan is called Goliath, who I swear has the coolest freaking voice of all time.
You are trespassing. They're not far ahead. I can scare those cowards away without any help.
I don't know who that actor's wife is, but I bet she plays a lot of 70s music when he's around.
Remember, you and I are one, now and forever.
There's other gargoyles too, but for some reason they don't have names. I guess they just associate them by their common action team stereotypes.
What is it? Are we being attacked again?
Look, it's the fat one!
The tricks are very late for horses carrying armored men.
How you doing over there, old one?
Not afraid, are you? I can see why. My,
the prissy one is in rare form today. Oh, there's also a gargoyle dog. How the does that work? I mean, are there gargoyle cats too? So I guess the castle is run by the princess, insert pretty name here.
I took the liberty of asking them to appear and be recognized for their bravery.
We are most seriously displeased to allow beasts in the dining hall.
These are unnatural creatures. No good can come from associating with them.
Except saving our on a daily basis. Hi? I mean, I know prejudice gets stronger the further back you go, but why do they hate these guys? They make house security systems look like the traps from Home Alone.
You are as good a soldier as the Philistine giant in Fort David.
You do well to remember, Captain, that the biblical Goliath was also a bully and a savage.
To be fair, they only eat 5 school children a week. That's not that bad.
Goliath, we owe you our lives.
As we owe you ours every day.
But all was not meant to be. When the true mythical story continues, drug abuse and 1,000-year-old curses.
For indeed there is trouble about, as Goliath's best human friend leads him away from the castle so he can sabotage the weapons. Goliath finds out too late as the sun rises and freezes our heroes. Do they ever freeze in an embarrassing pose? Like one of them's just standing there taking a whiz and then suddenly, oh, the sun! So the bad guys storm the castle, take everybody prisoner, and even destroy all the stone statues of the gargoyles. Yeah, maybe you should have, I don't know, hid yourselves or something! I mean, why display yourselves in the middle of the day in plain vulnerable sight? That's pretty cocky, guys. Do you also make taunting motions before the sun comes up? So Goliath returns and finds all his warriors smashed into cigarette butts. There's only 3 others who survived, as well as that weird gargoyle dog, because they were sealed in a hidden shelter earlier. So the gargoyles take what's left of their clan and do a hunt down for vengeance, while the bad guys talk with the princess and her wizardly Legolas impersonator.
You blackguard! No! My spells!
Now, which one of these fair maidens do you want?
I'll take the albino. She has far more delicate features. But the princess escapes as the gargoyles fly in to whip some Viking-ish
Zool! Zool!
But the wizard guy thinks the princess is dead and the gargoyles are to blame. So he casts a spell on them to turn them into stone permanently. But in actuality, Goliath saves the princess while the villains slip off a cliff to their deaths. You know, for a Disney cartoon, a lot of people sure do get the axe. This is like 5 Simba fathers and 3 Bambi mothers.
I've been denied everything, even my revenge!
And on top of that, I think I have a splinter!
Well, at least nothing else can go wrong.
What sorcery is this?
So the wizard realizes his mistakes and regrets that he can't reverse the spell.
You turned him to stone forever?
The terms of the spell were that they would sleep until the castle rises above the clouds.
Granted, it's a weak loophole, but it holds up nonetheless. So, yeah, it hasn't exactly been the best week for Goliath. Thus, he tells the wizard to cast his spell one last time so that he can at least be reunited with his frozen brothers. Connection? Cut to years later when a millionaire named Xanatos, played by Riker from Star Trek, actually goes to the trouble of raising the castle above the clouds, resulting in probably the most epic yawn of all time.
You are the one called Goliath?
Yes.
But my friends call me Go.
How long has it been?
This may be a shock. 1,000 years have gone by since the spell was cast. The Magus who cursed you wrote the whole story down in there. I was fascinated by the Magus' story. I wanted to see if it was true.
Why have you done all this?
I'm eccentric.
So Xanatos explains all about this new world they've entered while Detective Monza, from earlier, explores what was causing all that falling debris.
Sorry, pal, but this investigation isn't over yet. Don't tell me this is where Dracula shows up. A good laugh would be worth a lot of money right about now.
You know, for a snoop, I sure do talk to myself a lot. So Goliath dives down and catches her and does his best to explain who they are.
My kind have no names, but you humans call me Goliath.
Your kind? You mean there's more than one of you?
Barely.
So he climbs back up the building, carrying her along with him.
Oi!
Okay, so that part didn't happen, but she does befriend the gargoyles and becomes sort of the April O'Neil of the group. You know, if April was packing. This starts off a quasi-romance between Goliath and Elisa, which I always thought was kind of weird. I mean, what would the kids look like? Nope, not gonna think about it. Nope, just erase it from my memory. How come my mind never does what I tell it to? So, if there's ever a time-traveling fish-out-of-water story, you know there's gotta be a few scenes where they interact comically with modern technology. But to the show's credit, it's pretty downplayed. They usually only do it when these 3 are around.
What do you suppose this does? Whoa! Hey! Hey! Let me out!
But it's decided that the Gargoyles really do need names, so they decide to name themselves after the famous city landmarks.
Does the sky need a name? Does the river?
The river's called the Hudson.
Fine, lass. Then I will be the Hudson as well.
Because it's old, dirty, and often very smelly. Just like me.
Brooklyn. I'm Brooklyn.
Broadway.
Lexington. Do you like it?
They're all fine names. I guess he'll need one as well now.
Oh, I've got one for him too.
He'll be New York Metropolitan Sewer System.
You're Bronx. I think he likes it.
By the way, am I the only one that thought Lexington should have been named Queens? Oh, I gotta stop picking on him. So, in a surprise twist, Goliath's old flame returns as well. Only this time she's called Demona, voiced by another Star Trek actor, the one who played Troy. Except she's not quite as Goliath remembers her, as she wants revenge on all humans because of how they betrayed her clan.
We have no human friends, nor should we. Humanity is a poison that must be purged from this planet.
I want you to get rid of the humans.
Humanity is our enemy, Goliath.
Sort of like a female Magneto, Demona actually becomes one of the great cartoon villains. Always vengeful and always cold, with that great brooding voice.
If you are not my ally, then you are my enemy.
And it turns out Xanatos becomes a villain too, always hatching diabolical schemes to gain more power and control, but always staying suave and savvy.
Go ahead. Without me, you'd still be gathering moss.
Such is the plot to Gargoyles, as they constantly fight not only Demona and Xanatos, but a whole slew of other baddies. The stories were sometimes episodic, but mostly intertwined, the best ones being about Demona's past and how she survived all these centuries. For example, there's one episode where Demona goes back in time and tries to convince herself to kill Goliath and wage war on all humanity. But the hopeful Demona of the past doesn't want to believe that she becomes the vengeful Demona of the future. This is actually a really clever idea.
The humans did this, and you can stop it. Destroy all the humans. Rule the Gargoyles. Rule the world. I am what you will become. I will never be like you. I do not wish to hurt you, and I do not wish to be you.
And I don't wish for you to hurt you while I'm you. There's also episodes with mythical characters like King Arthur and Puck, but again, they don't make them as cheesy as it sounds. They actually give them the dignity that a lot of these myths already had. That's pretty impressive for a kid's show. But I think my favorite episode is the one called Future Tense, where Goliath arrives in the future and all hell broke loose as Xanatos has apparently taken over. Trying to set things right, all the Gargoyles get killed and slaughtered by Xanatos' army. But then it turns out Xanatos is really a computer with all the memories of the original person. But then it turns out it wasn't Xanatos at all, it was Lexington, who's become overtaken by madness. But then it turns out it was all an illusion by Puck to try and get a mythical emblem from Goliath. And then it turns out it may or may not have been a dream. And then it turns out that Goliath is a woman. Okay, that didn't happen, but you get the idea. This show was filled with plot twists and surprise endings that actually all seemed to add up. They didn't seem forced or contrived.
This just might be fun after all.
Oh, by the way, did I mention that Puck is voiced by Data, also from Star Trek? They should just make the credits look like this. After the first two seasons were such a big hit, they went into their next and final season called The Goliath Chronicles. This is where I kind of remember it getting weird. It wasn't horrible, but it just wasn't as strong as it used to be. Xanatos is now a full-time friend, Demona was rarely seen, and the villains were replaced by these weird sort of gargoyle KKK rejects called Quarrymen. That's really lame. The stories were a lot weaker too. For example, there's an episode where Broadway becomes a TV star, and another one where Goliath actually goes on trial. I wouldn't be surprised if there was an episode entitled Shark Jumping in You. But I remember the original shows, and they were always gripping and clever. It's funny because this show came on when I was in the middle of high school, around the point when you kinda stop watching kids' cartoons. So the rare time someone would mention this show, I'd be like, what? I don't know any I don't. But in secret, I would actually watch every one of them, because it was just that good. I don't know if it really changed anything in terms of kids' shows like Batman or Animaniacs, but it was certainly a welcome detour from what Disney usually did. It really stood on its own and created some really wonderful and really unique stories. Gargoyles is a blast from the past that is sure to live on in the future. I'm the Nostalgia Critic. I remember it so you don't have to.